Meaning it. Oh, thank you. She was so polite. I can't hear you on this. I can hear you from downstairs.
Oh, you're muted. You're
I
muted,
am,
Kathy.
I am muted.
Here I am.
No, Kathy was. She's okay now.
Why can't
You
I?
wish I had one of those buttons
I
installed.
know, I do.
Okay, weather. Snow possible anywhere from 0 to 145 inches, maybe. Could start at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Maybe today, or maybe not. Possibly not.
It's hilarious, bitch. And what did you want to do after that, hon?
Oh, you wanted the,
Something about you. Wanted to read something else. With
yes, diva.
I'm going to kill myself.
Okay, here we go. Today at 2:30ish, we harness up the diva. That's the dog. On the morning walk, we walk to the food truck. I had red, white, and blue crepes. The diva was treated to not one, but 2 little containers of sausage bits. Now, 2:30, the silly dog sitter is assuming we are off to see Big Sue. We turn left out of the house, cross the street, head towards Bay Avenue. Now we stand at the Bay Avenue. Where do I want to go? Okay, we finally decide we can go right. We walk ever so slowly to 28th Street, turn right, go to the alley, walk to the church parking lot. Do we want to go get treats at Sue's? Not yet. Let's walk back to Bay and cruise around. Oh, there's a nice hamburger. I want that hamburger. She growled at the dog walker. The dog walker gave up getting it back. So now are we ready to go to Sue's? Nah, not yet. Let's walk around the church. We got around the church. Sidewalk? Nah, let's walk real close to the church. Past the dumpsters. Look at the trash cans. And now we're back at the corner. All right, do you want to go to Sue's now? Uh-oh, her car is not home. But now Opal does not want to move anywhere. Statue, freeze, drag the dog. I figured the lady on the corner will be out to see if Opal is okay. Nope. We finally started. Everyone out today, but no one with treats. Where is Kathy? Is she okay? Then we stopped at 28th. What direction do you want to go in now? And at this point, the dog walker doesn't care which way we go. The dog walker's about ready to pick her up and carry her. Just walk somewhere, Opal. So now we walk by my house. But then, oh, look, Judy's on the porch. Whine, whimper, and rush to get home. And the dog walker came back anyway. But that's what happens when you walk the dog.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, dear.
Okay.
Now, occasionally somebody asks me, what are the ground rules? And I usually say there are none. Here are the ground rules. I've got some. There will be no other voices except mine while I'm reading. Otherwise, They're the ground rules. Okay. This guy Herb that sends me the reviews every once in a while sent me one that that basically gave me the blueprint for what I just read it, and I went, yeah, I'll do this and that and the other thing. Then I asked a lot of people to do some things, and those plans kept getting blown up. At any rate, this is the first part of it. Yes, when a large woman is after you with a gun of any type, it's time to do a post haste, unless you have a larger gun and it is loaded and you are sure the safety is off. Now, that was in reference to a specific poem that I put in one of the, I guess, one of the horse shits was in the last month or so. And I promised somebody who isn't here, who was going away this weekend, that I would explain the context of this poem about this large woman being physically after me, coming into my workplace, me having to drop to my all fours and crawling out of the room. It all started, I was 22 years old. After work on a Saturday, I went to a party. I was standing in the kitchen all by my lonesome, having a beer, when a cute young thing, when I'll call her a cute young thing now, back then she was a woman who was older than me. And I had never seen, never met before. Can you hear me
Yep.
clearly?
Yes.
Okay. And she asked me if I wanted to go smoke a joint with her. So I looked at her and I said, she's cute. She's got a joint. Let's go. So we went out to my car and we started smoking the joint. Before I got to take my first toke on it, there was a banging on my windshield. I looked up and it was a guy that I went to high school with. Vince somebody or other. Anyway, he's yelling at me, challenging me to get out of the car and fight him. And looking at the woman, I'm going, what the fuck is this all about? I came out to smoke a joint, and here I got somebody challenging me to do one on the street. And she said, oh, that's the guy I came with. And I said, that's nice. Get the fuck out of my car and get this squared away, or I'm just fucking turning it on and drive over both of you. So she gets out of the car, and she and this guy and this big blonde, when I say big, I mean big, tall, big. They go off together. I'm sitting there twiddling my tongue. Yeah, just like I just did. And they come back. And the little lady comes back to the car and she gets in and she says, okay, everything's all right. What do you mean everything's all right? She said, well, he said, since he brought me, he's got to take me home. But he's willing to leave from there. So you follow us to my house, and after he gets back in his car and leaves, then you come in. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So I said, what the fuck? I'm still trying to remember this guy's name. Tom knows him. At any rate, I follow them over. Guy leaves. I go in. The big blonde is already in there. And I'm thinking, what is this bitch? Is she her bodyguard or what? So I go in and they do a lot of haggling back and forth, the little one and the big one. And finally, the big one leaves. And me and the little one wind up on the floor doing what most sane people do on the floor. And it was rather enjoyable. And when we were finished, I said goodnight. I went home. I guess somehow or other before I left, we made arrangements to meet back at her house a week later. A week later, I come back. We do the same thing on the floor, order some food. I went to sleep somewhere. She went to sleep somewhere. I don't know where. Get up the next morning, and I have to go to work that morning. She's got breakfast already, bacon, eggs, the whole thing. I sit down to eat breakfast. Next thing I know, she walks in front of me, sits on the other side of the table, balls naked. She's on the phone. And I don't realize for a while that who she's talking to is her ex-husband. Now I'm sitting across from the lady. She's balls naked, talking to her ex-husband, while I'm sitting there probably eating his eggs. And I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to get the fuck out of here. And so I left. And I said, fuck it. I got nothing to do with this lady no more ever. A couple of months go by. And the big blonde lady comes. I worked at a men's store part-time while I was in college. And I was at my workplace in the men's store. And she walks in, and one of the guys that I work with, we used to call him Fat Jimmy Collins. And he headed her off because he could see she had a gun in her hand. And he's talking to her, and he's giving me this kind of motion, like, get the fuck back, you idiot. So I dropped to all fours and climbed to the back of the store. Turns out that this woman was looking for me because her girlfriend, was getting threatening phone calls from a guy that she was going out with. And this woman assumed that it was me who was giving her threatening calls. Now, this is about a month after I had seen the woman. And what she told Fat Jimmy Collins was that he said, wait a minute, what kind of gun is that? And she says, it's a starter pistol. And he said, well, what kind of damage can you do with that? She says, well, if I get it close enough to his face, it could leave some nice burns. And he calls me up, and she gets to interview me. And I get to explain. I haven't seen her for a fucking month. I haven't called her. I haven't driven by her house. I don't know who the fuck's giving her, calling her. So at any rate, she gets convinced and she leaves. So that's my experience of having a large woman with a gun coming after me. End of fucking story.
That's a long story for a short poem.
It was a very short poem. That's why I left it that way. But this guy wanted to know what the fuck was that all about. So I just told you what the fuck that was all about.
Al, you probably had more weird things happen to you in that short period that I've had in my entire life.
Well, my whole entire life has been overrun with shit like that. You probably remember a couple occasions in high school where people wanted to, Jerry Byron's leaving Hugh Carcella Hall. All right, his girlfriend, Pat
McGovern.
Pat McGovern is, Jerry's here, she's here, I'm there. Three of us are walking out. She drops a coin on the ground. A guy from Chambersburg bends over to pick it up for her. She's got to act like a snotty bitch from Levittown. She just can't take the thing. She gives him a ration of shit. Who does he want to fight? Jerry? Fuck no. This guy over here looks like a great fighter. Let me do him. So anyway, that's my fucking life. Now,
It's just designed to provide you with material.
apparently so. Apparently, that's probably why I decided to start writing the shit down. Any rate, he goes on now to say, I am remiss. I finished Demons a while back. I finished it in the small room with the bone commode, where all Ferber works by Albrecht are meant to be consumed, if not enjoyed. It was quite good, almost a pleasure to read. Stronger in the beginning and kind of drifting away toward the end. So I was going to have that read, and that bombed out. So I wound up asking the lady that I live with if she would read some stuff from Demons.
Okay.
Are you the person that I lived with that I asked to read some of Demons and stuff?
Yes, and I have demons, but you put a marker in here, but I don't know if you want me to read the one on the left or the right.
Doesn't matter. You pick it.
Oh, okay. Dating technique. Gus said his dating technique, for the most part, wasn't the greatest. No trouble getting dates, no trouble doing dates, but setting up for the second date, he was for shit. Afraid he'd be setting expectations for a long-term romance instead of some lightweight romance and enjoying her company. Didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings and wound up hurting his own. This one's very appropriate. Demons and devils. Gus said demons and devils have descended upon him more than once. On no less than 3 occasions, the devil has presented himself to him in human form. His reaction was instantaneous each time, an overwhelming urge to kill the sons of bitches right on the spot. Each time he regretted sparing their putrid lives. Each time they visited much pain and evil upon him, karma being his only saving grace. Each one of them eventually died a horrible, abasing death. Dirt and earthy. Gus says it was years ago in North Philadelphia. He found himself in some gritty bar with dirty shot glasses and a woman singing who was never famous, but had a voice as earthy gets. For some reason, the brothers let him just sitting on a bar stool, sipping on a mug of beer, watch a roach make its way across the bar, listening to that earthy woman singing her earthy song. So that was a happy poem.
Yeah. Fucking joyous.
Dover. Gus said he looked into history to find it took 3 house painters 4 weeks to put the white face on the cliffs of Dover, for which they got no recognition, and the king didn't even give them a fucking tip.
Oh, Larry Ingram showed up.
Hey,
Yeah.
Larry.
Hi. Thanks, Hop.
Drum and sax akin. When the timing's right, the sax spits out the drums from its bowels with a soulful mix of percussive.
Jesus fucking Christ.
How come I can't see myself?
Look in the mirror.
I'm going to do this one. Drunk dream. Gus said the dream is always the same. He's sitting at a table at a meeting. Beside his right foot is a fifth of scotch and a shot glass. He bends beneath the table, fills the glass, and drinks it. All of his sober time has been a lie. He's been drinking the whole time. He wakes in a cold sweat, shaking in a panic. After about 15 minutes, he realizes he has been sober, and the bad news was the dream can't come again.
Larry, Tiffany said hello.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everybody again.
Tiffany was the only one who fucking said hello to you.
I waved, but he wasn't there. He couldn't see.
Exactly. I can see everybody.
I said hello by email before.
I'm sorry.
I said hello by email before.
Okay.
Electric chair. Gus said his neighbor has 2 electric chairs to help him get up 2 flights of stairs. He looks shaky on his legs with a walker at best, but mentally he's as sharp as a tack. Old age is an odd stew with many disparative ingredients, both positive and negative, both joyful and painful. You can't judge these books by their covers.
Sounds familiar, don't it?
Erotica Jong. Already I'm in trouble. Gus said he thinks it was back in the 70s or maybe the 80s when he read a book called Fear of Flying by Erica, parentheses, Erotica Jong, in which she coined the phrase the zipless fuck, described I am having problems. Examples throughout the limitlessly erotic novel. Eye contact only, no physical contact between the participants at all, informing him of the numerous times in the past he'd had the experience and equipped him with the knowledge to readily identify a zipless fuck as it occurred in the present as well as the future.
Now, how many have you gone through so far?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. You want me to stop?
Do you want her to stop or go on? Okay, nobody said anything, so I guess you're out.
2 more I want.
You want 2 more?
Yeah. Yeah, I just started. So I'd like to hear a couple more.
Exodus. Gus said the lemmings are leaving the island by the thousands in their gas-guzzling SUVs, driving 50 miles per hour in 30-mile-per-hour zones, zooming through intersections where pedestrians have the right of way. They've been to and littered the boardwalk. They've been to and littered the beach. They've been to and pissed in the ocean. They've heard the forecast for rain tomorrow, and now they're crowding the roads with irrational traffic, pulling irrational lemmings stunts and some of the lemmings won't make it home.
Good.
Feeling off. Gus said he's feeling a little bit off balance, a little bit out of sorts, a little bit more ill-tempered than usual, but who could tell, a little bit under the weather, a little bit out of line with the gravitational pull of the moon, the sun, the stars, a little bit out of line with the planets, the astrological signs, meteors and meteorites, but it just might be indigestion from the cheesesteak he had last night.
Thank you. Okay, all right. This is one that I attempted to farm out. Oh, before I go to that one. Let's see. Oh, this is back to Herb. Then I went to the Badlands. It was excellent. Hard to believe that it was your stuff. Snicker, snicker, snicker. After Hotel Fantastique, it is my favorite. Really good. Not a loser in the bunch. So, I don't think I've ever read Inventory in the Badlands before. It won't take long. It's like 24
Nothing listening.
very short poems. And this,
What?
the Badlands are active schizophrenia that my wife was experiencing at the time, and that I was trying to not drown in. Okay?
Right.
It's called Pilgrimage. Undressed, swaying to the remote beat of that jumping monkey music, she is on a pilgrimage through the Badland. Beset with misfortune, she speaks of the crowd, of its hidden sweetness. She is out on the fringe, speaking her own mistakable language, naked, road-weary, on her seemingly endless journey, attempting to arouse the sleeping world, swaying to the remote beat of human beings awakened to their mystical passions. It's called Ridiculous Song. We dance to the ridiculous monkey music, our hot dreams of weeping, moving into the depths of soiled afternoon. We dance to the classic banana music, shaking our heads like mannequins, a group of harlequins damaged by relentless sun. It's called Waiting Platform. We waited on the wooden platform in the middle of the Badlands, where Master Neruda usually conducts a symphony of harps dedicated to the sturdy women of the village, the callous bottoms of their feet, their spirits wandering in the desert. Is called Routines. We follow our routines like trained circus animals, opening our eyes each morning, searching for a list of persons missing in the long nights of the Badlands. We try to sing, but our voices have worn down to a miserable frazzle. It's called Open Hearted. We gather open-hearted between the sheath of her loneliness, wandering through the fields of her passion, wondering if she will return, if she will be smiling or just musing over the direction of heaven.
Hmm.
It's called Policeman. She is the policewoman of the Badlands, a straight shooter with great legs, teasing us with those gorgeous gams, all the time showing us leg, all the time giving us a ticket. This is called Inventory in the Badlands. In the neon sideshow of her electric underpants, a bag of serpent heads, a cup of venom, a set of teeth marks on her thighs, convicts and thieves, naked as jaybirds, sharpening their knives. It's called Green Feather. He keeps her at gunpoint, forcing her to eat white bread, forcing her to look straight down the shaft of its barrel, keeping her whining in the bushes with wetted thighs, forcing her to dream of him moving over her, teasing her with a green feather hanging from his nostril. Against his will, she dreams a sister to her skin. It's called Red Harlot with Red Apple Butt. She props herself against the wall, the only hotel in the Badlands, with a red apple buttocks, luscious vision, readying herself to bite the lip of a slave, promising deepest penetration at great personal response, forcing legs apart into total submission, lying open for you her conjugal coffin. 12. In the murky waters. The fish are singing in the murky waters. Rings of air surround their voices. It was not until she combed her hair with fish bones that he could hear them singing, her dressed, shifting in the winds, with silver on her ankles. She talks to him of the giant turtles, aging, aging. She asked him if he will love her, even when the turtles have grown young again. The fish still singing, the giant turtles rumbling inside their shells on the barren rock face of the islands. In the Badlands, looking at the sky, blushing. I'm going to take a break from this. This is halfway through and come back to it in a little bit. Unless you want me to keep going until
Very good. Very good, Al.
unless you want me to keep going till the finish. All right.
It's your show.
What?
It's your show.
That's right. It's my fucking shit.
I've got to get off in a few minutes. I got to call my son Jeff, who's visiting Los Angeles. He picked a nice time to go there. I think they're probably going to tell him not to ever come back.
Exactly.
They're supposed to have 6 to 12 inches of rain
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
the next day. And I said, Jeff, they're going to tell you, don't ever come back.
Yeah.
So I got to get off in a minute and call him.
Atmospheric river.
What's
Uh,
it called, Larry?
Atmospheric river is what's causing the rain.
Atmospheric river. Hmm.
That's what
all right.
the meteorologists call it.
Sounds like a poem in that. Atmospheric river.
There you go, Al.
I think it's just God's punishment for their evil ways.
Yeah.
Just being in California.
All right. I'll read 2 more, then you can make your phone call, Tom. Motorcycle shifting his gears on the empty streets of the Badlands, greased up and lonely, chasing pigeons, looking for the loveliest woman on the steps of an abandoned railroad terminal, working through a strange mirage at 100 miles to each gallon. Without her, he still believes he will come through it. He still believes he is that legendary sex machine.
What year did you write this, Al?
I had the same question.
Just curious.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking. Bitch. Pages. 1986.
86.
Um,
Interesting.
excellent button. Interesting and excellent. And fill in the blanks.
Okay. This was called Mean Moment. There are mean moments here in the Badlands. Looking up, witnessing a crow biting its own wing, mourning, finding a flaw in the fabric of night, and making the most of it. Watching the last performance of the theater of last resort. Time you put your hand up when you need to get out of here.
Okay, I think that was a fruitful period, Al. There's something compelling about those poems. It's interesting.
Yes.
My last comment. Bye, guys. All good seeing you all.
Good seeing you, Tommy.
Bye now.
Take care, Tom.
Yeah.
See, this time he beat me to the gun. He left first. Larry, do you want to jump in and do your thing?
Sure. I was just going to read one of your poems and a short story. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a Gus poem. I read a bunch of Gus poems, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a poem from this book, Throwing Beer Cans at the Moon. And I want to read the title poem in the book, which I find extremely interesting. Throwing beer cans at the moon. Got a love-hate thing going with the moon since I was knee-high in sewer rats. During the year of the pine cone, that great non-judgmental mirror hanging somewhere in the sky of every damn night of forever. Never could figure if it's a willing accomplice or an unwilling pawn of the sun. It reflects, makes me see and swallow every aspect of myself. Seems a sadistic pastime. For a noble celestial body got me to launch countless projectiles in the form of empty beer cans on nights when I'd taken more humiliation than I could bear. On a different hand, the moon indulges me in reveries of romantic melancholy in contemplation of infinity. I found that extremely moving. The poem.
Whoever wrote that was pretty fucking good.
They were very good. Very good. Okay, if I read a short story.
Go for it.
True story. It's a childhood story, you know, the childhood story. It's called Tobacco Road. I'm 12. Sent from Levittown to live at my grandparents in Mayfair at 3149 McGee Street, 2 blocks off Frankfurt Avenue. My grandpa chewed tobacco since he was age 13 when his father sent him to work at Cox's Iron Foundry in Philadelphia. Most iron workers chewed to keep the dust out of their lungs. My grandmom would travel downtown to a tobacco store to get Grandpa's favorite brand of tobacco, which came in a half dozen small square brown paper bags within a larger craft paper bag. She invited me along again to buy Grandpa's tobacco, but the cool thing was we would eat at Warren and Hardett's for lunch. We walk up to the corner to wait on the 66 trolley to Bridge and Pratt Streets to pick up the L downtown to Market Street. Here comes the trolley. I'm excited. Suddenly, a man in a suit, wearing a fedora hat and carrying a newspaper, rolled up his hand, runs from the other side of Frankfurt to beat the traffic and catch the trolley. The man in the suit waved at a car and tripped and fell forward in front of the trolley, which decapitated him not 30 feet from me and Grandma. Mom quickly grabbed my hand and went right back home. I guess she decided to get Grandpa's tobacco another day. The end.
Very nice. Except for the guy,
Yeah, the guy.
he was having a bad day.
He was old to me, but I'm guessing he was in his late 20s, early 30s, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, that's old when you're fucking.
Yeah. 12.
How old were you at the time?
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fucking 16 was old at the time.
That's true.
I have to say that that's the second story in the past week I've heard that has Levittown and decapitation. And I don't
Yeah,
know, just
there was a news story.
current now
And
reason.
It's all connected.
Unmute her.
Oh, yeah.
Unmute her.
Kathy, you're
Unmute yourself.
I can do one more short story if you want, but that's up to you guys.
How about if we come back to you for that?
Well, how about if I wait till next time? How about that?
Well, let's see what happens.
All right.
Okay. We have people down at the southern tip of the East Coast. It was the first official Nazi state in the United States of America. And I'm going to let them report in.
All right, and the Flextons are joining us.
They are. They're in the parking lot.
There's more and more of them. We saw them at Publix.
It's true.
Where
I'm
people
going to go ahead and read one, and then I'll give it over to Tiff.
Exactly where are you in Florida?
Just above Gainesville and High Springs.
Okay.
So it's pretty rural up here.
We're out in the country in the woods.
This
Yeah.
this one goes along good with
Used
the
to be
earlier
cow
comment.
country.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Except we don't have cows, we have pigs.
Carl pigs. Okay.
So this goes along with the earlier conversation quite well, and it's out of the best and worst of Neuro Circus Street, and it's called Mental Health. Gus says he wouldn't know a goddamn thing about mental health. He's been skating all around the edges of thin ice for as long as he can remember. Wouldn't recognize it if it stared him square in the face. The squirrels in the attic escaped from their cages a long time ago and been running around like they own the joint ever since. Says he's about as mentally balanced as a volcano about to erupt. A psychopath in the middle of a killing spree. A kleptomaniac let loose in the dollar store. A rapist prowling the halls of the Playboy Mansion. Rasputin discovered fervently in the midst of evening prayer. My daddy spoke to me in his usual wordless way, let it slide out the side of his sly smile. Inside that picture frame above my desk, hey son, I think it's time you changed your name to Lightning Rod.
Okay. This is just a couple of pieces of the paper. I've got stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of printouts that were emails because from I think it was 2014 and or 2015 and 2016. Whenever it was, I went to school for a couple years. And I was accountable to having to check my email because I don't do email, but I had to do email because of school. And he would send poetry out over email. So I don't know what they're from, but this one is called The Epic. The movie, the novel, the epic adventure swirled around me in every direction, sucking time and life away from me, out of me. But it happened that I happened upon this moment that contained me, where I was no longer an observer, but a patient participant. And now, this moment, that is my life, without sentimental editing, with only actual experience. In a blink of the moon, the sound of a million Buddhists moaning moving from the present to the present, the sound of a rattling subway car moving from station to station, the sound of all the abandoned homes and factories and corner stores and corner bars and schools and churches and farmhouses where time fractured and split apart, the sound of 1 second that is all old history, the sound of spent seconds and the stuff of moments, the sound of a word in a book, surrounded by its brothers and sisters, the sound of the tree where Buddha was enlightened, that everything is nothing when all my words were washed away in a blink of an eye in the wink of the moon. I thought that was a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
There are some pretty gnarly ones. I had to reply to some of those gnarly ones and say, "You're sick, Al Ferber. Make it nicer." But these were some nice ones. I found some nice ones in between all the crazy moon stuff. That was a good one. Oh, and there was lots of Gus. So this one is called, "What Did I Know?" What did I know? Gus said. What did I know? My mother told me not to drink because she was afraid I'd become an alcoholic, like her father, who was a Skid Row bum and a wino at that. My father drank beer every night, but he wasn't a Skid Row bum, and I certainly didn't have any plans of becoming a Skid Row bum. So I figured my mother was full of it, and I started to drink beer, then beer and wine in college, although wine made me blow lunch, and this at a rate of 2-3 days a week. And after college, I kicked it up to 7 days a week. And somewhere along the line, the beer slowed down and the scotch came on the scene, the cognac, then Irish whiskey. And the next thing I knew, I was drinking in the morning and all day and all night long. And then I was drinking in the morning to stop my hands from shaking. And I realized after 30 years of swilling that stuff down and going through the delirium tremens for 6 days and almost dying, that my crazy ass mother really knew what she was talking about after all. I don't know why I like that one, but I think I like that one because I recently, my mom told me something and I remember her telling me that a long time ago and she was right. So that's why I think I picked that one out. This one is called Origins of Species. My father's father came from Germany, which by the way, so did mine. My father's father came from Germany. His father was a farmer who beat him ruthlessly, sending him to America to escape the lash. My father's mother came from an area of France that, depending on the outcome of the war, was occupied by either France or Germany. Somehow, she made her way to America, speaking German with a French name. My mother's father was Scotch-Irish, but he preferred wine. Her mother was Irish, and she preferred her husband take his wine drinking to the streets and rails. Somehow or other, I came out of all that, a handsome street brawler, intelligent, talented, and purebred alcoholic. It just sounded familiar. Anyway.
Can you imagine?
What's that?
I said, can you imagine that?
I can imagine that.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. This is called Career Move. Gus scored himself an El Primo gig with NPR to interview the diva after the operatic interpretation of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. He watched the production with great interest as the diva engaged in her despicable behavior, both verbal and physical. Watched and listened to her put her powerful voice into the limits of its range, and developed a sweat befitting a longshoreman on a summer day. He watched the perspiration stick to her gown and the gown to her skin, and found his interview germinating as he watched. He jumped to his feet and gave her an enthusiastic standing ovation. And at the end of that performance, when she approached him, he gushed that was incredible. I've never seen anything like it before. But I have to ask you, with all that physical exertion, do you ever get the feeling your breasts are on the verge of jumping out of your gown? Do you ever get the feeling they just want to jump out and run? and I don't know why I like that one, but I thought it was funny. And I like
I
funny
don't know
stuff.
why I wrote that one, but I did.
You totally did. It's right here. Oh, here's Pet Shop. And then just tell me when to stop after this. Okay. This is called Pet Shop. Gus went to a 12-step meeting, but after a while, he thought maybe he'd made a wrong turn and wound up in a pet store with all variety of parrots and cockatoos, saying everything by rote, just like back in Catholic school with the nuns and their rulers ready to strike if you made a mistake. And he said he knew for sure that there wasn't a parrot or cockatoo in there. Had the first idea of how to talk. Oh, let me back up here. If you made a mistake, and he said he knew for sure that there wasn't a parrot or a cockatoo in there, that had the first idea of how to talk from the heart. That just sounded familiar to me.
It did it.
Yeah.
Regurgitation.
Regurgitation.
Incredibly, we had the mercy nuns who gave you no mercy at all. They didn't follow their own traditions. Maybe that was their tradition, just to beat up on kids. I don't know.
That's terrible.
Let me, I could just say though that today, if I was in elementary school today, they would have me on every drug you can think of, because I had AAA, ADHD. I still have it actually. I can't stop doing things. I can't sit down even now. I have to be active. For me to sit this long is pretty incredible. But that's why I got nailed a lot back in elementary school.
You must have just got the shit beat out of you then.
Every grade, every grade, because I was bored.
Right.
Move along. Let's go. Move along. You read that. Let's go. Come on, move along. But you can only go as fast as the slowest kid. That's it.
What do we got?
Sorry.
Oh. He mentioned in the this is again back to Herb, that the Inventory in the Badlands was his favorite, just after Hotel Fantastique, which someone else was going to read from, and that went south. So Kathy's going to read some from Hotel Fantastique. Honey, it's
Yes.
Hotel Fantastique.
Okay. Fred and Ginger. Gus said right in the middle of the grand ballroom, where all the gods from all around the world were assembled for their grand night of dinner and dancing, the ghosts of Fred Astaire in black tux with tails and Ginger Rogers in floor-length gowns appeared on the dance floor, graceful as angels, leaving the gods aghast, coming up with moves and steps the gods could not conceive.
Very nice. Self-winding. Gus said at Hotel Fantis, what is it? Fantastic. Fantastic. Three
Each,
syllables. Fantastic.
don't start me laughing because then I won't remember anything.
Fantastic.
Each guest was supplied with a watch, with a timing spring that wound itself through everyday motions of the hand and the wrist, for keeping track of times, for meals and scheduled daily special events. For the most part, the watches kept excellent time, but there were always those few whose timing spring got wound so tight that time stood still.
Aha.
Yeah. Hymnals. Gus said that hotel had a non-denominational chapel for any prayer or meditation needs. Each seat was supplied with hymnals and prayer books with blank pages, where guests were encouraged to write their own, leaving some interesting reading and singing for future guests. From the hideous to the sublime, there was one hymn in the hymnal and one prayer in the prayer book about a rose that was born in the snowfields of winter and never died. Now I can't remember which was the one I picked.
Well, then just move on to the next one that you can't remember that you picked.
Leisure Suite. Gus said Jimmy Carter once checked in at Hotel Fantastique to stay in the leisure suite, where he wore no underwear, not even socks, and a leisure suit to explore at a leisurely pace the lustful thoughts that before he'd only been able to think and talk about in Playboy magazine. Former occupants of the leisure suite included Mae West, who explored her deepest desires of becoming a nun, W.C. Fields, who explored his kinder, sober, and more gentle side, and Mother Teresa, who explored her desire to help all of mankind in an altogether different way. Rain dance. Gus said during peak season, which was all of the 4 seasons of the year, at Hotel Fantastique, guests were invited to participate in a ritualistic rain dance originated by several tribes of Native American Indians, held only on days when it was already raining, when the naked as jaybirds guests without umbrellas could dance and laugh and rejoice in their success and soak it in. Silent Night. Gus said the silence of the night in the land of the screaming leaves could be at times almost deafening. As she stood nose to nose with him, a cruel goddess of indifference, casting no shadow in the timid moonlight, and he a shattered window trying to keep out the cold.
Very nice. Thank you, young lady.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll read something and then this is called Rip the Lid Off. It's a long poem that I had hoped I could pawn off to somebody, but that didn't work out. Go ahead. I'm ready for a long overdue inspection of the contents of my fetid cranium. Rip the fucking lid off. Poke and prod. Dig in with drill or spaghetti fork. Pay no mind of the kid curled in the fetal position, weeping like a sissy under the dining room table. Pay no mind to the fire in the church. It serves as a raging reading lamp, and the dog and the cat doing the traditional doggy dance in the passing lane of a busy interstate, the loud, incessant ticking of alarm clocks. Two poles in a perpetual tug of war, the dim lit streets, friends exploding on operating tables, crashed into mountainsides, bits and pieces of a skull and gobs of cranial matter spread across cobblestones. A fragile soul beaten down to madness by teachers' wooden paddles. The green parakeet of youth, the tiny turtle crushed underfoot on a doorstep. Girls with painted faces and hiked up skirts patrolling late night corners as guardians of the faith. A bull of the pampas trying to throw a toreador off his back. A boy's hat tossed on top of car. Same boy shivering in early morning cold. A priest in a confessional cautions to a boy of his girlfriend as an occasion of sin. Semen stains in the snow. Holy sacred ejaculations in pants, on furniture, on bathroom floors. A young man found dead in a car from mysterious causes, engine still running. A young girl weeping, brokenhearted at a kitchen table. A woman with a gun in search of a prey. A midnight and dream having it out in a no holds barred street fight. A boy and his father fish at a stream without fish. Three evil incarnate men felled mercilessly by their own deeds. A young boy shitting in an outhouse in winter, hooked on the aroma of noodles and gravy. The woman who covered her skin with animal fat. First communion boy in a photograph wears double-breasted white suit. A motorcycle crashed into a tree, leaves its rider with one leg shorter than the other. A woman on a snowmobile beheaded by an ill-placed wire after a poetry reading. A naked woman sits across from him at the breakfast table, talks to her ex-husband on the phone. The selective service system gobbles young men and spits them into trash dumpsters. Nuns crack knuckles. Priests crack skulls at random for sport in the name of the all-merciful Lord. Oil leaks from an oil pan on a 1965 driveway. A car run off a snowy highway by a runaway summer. He sits on top of her, rubs snow in her face, enjoys the unexpected fireworks in his pants. He says their love was never consummated. Who says their love was never consummated? The chickadee lady with fire red hair and too much makeup from the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City, 1937. An old drunk found dead in a rooming house, buried in an unmarked grave. A chunk of flesh torn from a knee on a trolley track. A 45 p.m. record player under a Christmas tree. A girl tells a boy to meet her at a hamburger joint on the boardwalk at the shore in summer. A 55 Chevy bought by a smart-ass kid with scholarship money. A short order cook chases the boss out of the restaurant with a 10-inch knife. A 3-ring binder with nothing in it. A girl this happens. A girl has the Virgin Mary appear at the foot of her bed. Another woman sees her departed father speak to her on television. An egotistical boy slips on a rock, fails to a death from broken ribs that punctured that punctured his lungs. Back in the mid-60s, a kid gets on a Honda 50, hits a pot in the road, breaks his neck. A bare knuckle fight on a railroad bridge. One kid runs home after he might have broken the other kid's back. This one guy was so busted up inside he could have forgotten how to express any outward emotion. The other guys said nothing ever phases him. The 8-ball and snake-eyed dice in the side pocket, and then there are dreams crushed under the hill of unyielding facts. As a matter of fact, pay no mind to any of it. It's all a colossal waste of time. And that's it for that. Paul, do you want to go?
Yeah, okay. That the one you just read, that was one that I had picked out. I was gonna read.
I asked you to read and you gave a wise ass answer.
When did you ask me to read?
Oh my God, never mind. Read it again. I want to hear
I
somebody.
have
Oh,
another
I'm
one.
so thank you, Paul. That means I'm not the only one.
I have another one. Old Man in the Sea from Horseshit, December 2023. I've been trapped in the sea, by the sea, a slave to all its tributaries, all of its wealth of moods. There are days and some nights when the ever-changing sea, with its tides and undertows and storms and windless sun-baked moments, thinks it is a river. Even the sea is given to such states of malaise and confusion. But alas, the sea, the eternal sea that lies naked beneath the sun's reflection off the face of the moon, the sea birthed me and will sweep me away in its unfathomable currents and depths.
Hey, Paul, I love the way you read.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Seriously, you
This-
really do well. Excellent.
I appreciate that. One more. This last week, a friend of mine sent me a picture of Tommy Agee, the center fielder for the Mets in 1969, making a great catch. And in the picture was the left fielder coming over, number 21. And that was my favorite player back when I was a Met fan in North Jersey as a little kid. And so I had, his name was Cleon Jones. And I found this little poem I had written a while back called Cleon. Cleon Jones was number 21 and hit 340 in 1969. He was number one to a 9-year-old in North Jersey in that fateful year when man went to the moon, Nixon came back, and Manson murdered the last of our hopes. They didn't tell us back then that Cleon was a drunk. It wouldn't have mattered to me. He hit 340 and the Mets slew the Goliath. There is nothing like being 9.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
Before you started reading that, you mentioned that in the summer of whatever it was when you were a big, and it sounded like you said meth fan.
Oh, meth. No,
I just wanted to clarify.
I was never a meth fan.
That would be the 1986 Mets.
Yeah, right. That makes more sense. It makes more
Different team, completely different team.
Mhm.
Okay. Hop.
Okay. Well, I've got some greatest hits. Things you can't do with the fake background is apparently hold up a bunch of poetry books, but trust me, these are not horse shit. These are older greatest hits. This is not one of them, just one original first. This is Cornell Woolrich. He wrote, this is self-explanatory, or this is explanatory. Cornell Woolrich. He wrote lurid pulp novels about fallen women and sultry summer nights. He never got laid. They never wrote about his negative capability. They never knew. That's because of some myth since debunked that Cornell Woolrich, the pulp novelist who apparently had lots of sex scenes in his writing, was in fact a virgin, although it has since been debunked to the extent that he did have sex, just not with women. So he was not a virgin. He was something else.
Okay.
So I told you it's self-explanatory. Now let's moving on to some you will know. This is from Lestrange Cafe. This is one that, if I remember correctly, I may have to take credit for inspiring the title too. Actually, not inspiring, for suggesting the title too, because I don't think it's about me. I really don't think it's about me. It's called Emasculation Proclamation. You can correct me if I did not suggest the title to this, but I think it was one of mine.
I'm giving it credit right now.
Okay. I think Osmosis may have been mine on the prior page, but I'm not going to read Osmosis. I'm just going to read Emasculation Proclamation. She called him at Lestrange Cafe one final time before the rest of her life would unfold without any trace of him, no memorabilia, no love letters, no greeting cards from past birthdays or Christmas holidays, no used condoms to mark the points of their departures from each other, no canceled bus tickets from one city to another. Just wanted to let him know she'd been making the rounds around the city, knocking down the statues, songs, and monuments he'd built in vain attempts to sneak back through some wormhole in the universe where virtuous dreams become virtuous realities.
Holy fuck.
Flashback.
It just became one of my favorites.
How long ago was that?
So I've got a few other greatest hits here. This is somewhat more recent. This is from The Dancing Girls Have All Gone Home. This does not have a title, and I think you might have read this at one of our last one of these a while back. Got arrested, tried, convicted, and executed for inciting irony. End of poem. This is from Six Nights on the Sun, and this does have a title. I don't remember what it's about, which might be one reason why I'm reading it, because it has not been demystified for me. So it still has a touch of the mystic. This is 1968. The season of The Witch was the day before the Volkswagen bus was repossessed with 2 canaries in the ashtray. Just saying. You'll have to tell me what that's about if that's not self-explanatory.
I couldn't possibly tell
Okay.
you what that's about.
Even bet that's the answer I was hoping you would give me. So, just a couple more. This does not have a title either. This is from Exhuming the Monster. Occasionally the night turns on me, drags in clouds of fog to confuse my night vision, obscure the film noir shadows cast by street lamps. Kudos to the survivors of this heartless world. And like Larry, I also have one from Throwing Beer Cans at the Moon. This is not the title poem. This is Who Knows? This is Who Knows? Someone raised the question, who the hell are you? I responded, how the hell would I know? End of poem. Some old favorites there. I still want to know about that canary.
Yes.
So, right. Ask Kathy. Maybe she knows. Oh, it could have been one of our dead cats that told me that one.
Oh, my.
Go ahead.
I thought I should ask Donovan, but he's not here. So it's 1968. I don't know.
He's still kicking around, isn't he?
Shade of yellow. He is. He actually, quite a while ago, he actually gave a concert right across the street from me at the Scottish Rite
Really?
here, in Collingswood. Maybe before we lived here. Not sure. But you never know who comes to town.
Well, you'll have to call him and ask him.
Only he would know. And he was there, so he wouldn't remember.
That's true. That's what's so entertaining about the prospects of talking to him about it.
I did have one more. Lisa was going to read it, but I don't know that she is around to read it at the moment. So it's the one across the page from, if you will indulge me, she was going to read the one that was across the page from Emasculation Proclamation and 2 after Osmosis. This is a quickie. It's Legal Department. The lawyers were everywhere at Lestrange Cafe, tossing about big tips, leaning against the bar, the walls, sitting on tabletops, making visits to the downstairs bathroom for a quick white powder, pick me up, hard charging on the Siberian Express to every lawyer's dream of perpetual ad hoc oblivion. She wanted to read that for some reason, so now I have. End of poem.
Cool. Let's see what else we got. I've got all my papers mixed up. Weather lady, do you have anything else on your list? Well, if you unmute yourself, people will be able to hear you.
Ah, I could read a couple of Christmas ones.
Well, go right ahead.
Okay, what if I read like 3 Christmas ones? And then I have to think about walking the dog.
Well, do you want to think about walking the dog first and then I'll come back to you?
No, because I'll be gone a long time.
Okay, hon. Read.
Okay.
4.
Well, this year, as per usual, the fat bastard got his fat ass stuck in the chimney of the sheriff's office again. And as per usual, the bastard's wife refused to bail him out yet again. It's no wonder the family delivery business has gone all to hell. Toyland. The elves decided to unionize, much to the displease of the Mr. and Mrs. Claus board of detractors, who decided to bring in some professional, arbitrary sons of bitches to spike the punch at the annual Beat the Fucking Elves to a Pulp holiday festival, break all their spindly kneecaps and normalize things at the plant. That was horrible.
I know. And I love writing. You know how much I enjoy hurting people?
And how much you love Christmas.
Yeah.
Ring
I refer to her as the Christmas bitch.
Ring around. The reindeer decided to get the holiday season off to a rollicking start, ordered several kegs of Colt 45 malt liquor, and got their asses plastered on the night before Christmas, unbeknownst to the management, and started humping each other in what looked like a very enthusiastic Greek conga line outside the summer home of the Claus family. Every fucking one of the horny drunken bastards got fired on the spot.
Very
How do you-
nice, honey.
How do you even picture this stuff?
How do I do it?
Yeah,
I know there's a virus up here. I can't control it.
it's very frightening.
Well, how do you think I feel? There's shit flying around in my head.
Born again. The kid was the original born again Christian, gets born again every goddamn year on the same fucking day.
Okay. Now I'm going to read. Does anybody, Paul, I really want you to read that fucking one that you were going to read, that I asked you to read, that you gave me balls about.
I have no recollection of this, but I'll read whatever you want me to read.
Oh, Christ. The long one that I read for
It's
Christ.
the one that he read.
Oh yeah,
With
yeah,
the
yeah.
three
Okay.
ring binder that was empty
Yeah,
in the car.
Sure. You want me to read it again? Okay.
Oh, did you already read it again? Did you read it before tonight? And I missed the whole fucking thing?
I'm so happy to know I'm not the only one.
I know, there's a fucking echo in the bathroom.
I'm gonna read the poem again. Yes?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So it's called Rip the Lid Off. And I think you did two versions of it because mine says expanded version.
That's the one.
That's the one. Okay. Go ahead. I'm ready for a long overdue inspection of the contents of my fetid cranium. Rip the fucking lid off. Poke and prod. Dig in with drill or spaghetti fork. Pay no mind to the kid curled in the fetal position, weeping like a sissy under the dining room table. Pay no mind to the fire in the church. It serves as a raging reading lamp, and the dog and the cat doing the tradition doggy dance in the passing lane of a busy interstate. The loud, incessant ticking alarm clocks, two poles in a perpetual tug of war, the dim-lit streets, friends exploding on operating tables, crashed into mountainsides, bits and pieces of a skull and gobs of cranial matter spread across cobblestones, a fragile soul beaten down to madness by teachers' wooden paddles, the green parakeet of youth, the tiny turtle crushed underfoot on a doorstep, girls with painted faces and hiked up skirts patrolling late night corners as guardians of the faith, a bull of the pampas trying to throw a toreador off his back, a boy's hat tossed on top a car, same boy shivering in early morning cold, a priest in a confessional cautions a boy off his girlfriend as an occasion of sin, semen stains in the snow, holy sacred ejaculations in pants, on furniture, on bathroom floors, a young man found dead in a car from mysterious causes, engine still running, young girl weeping, broken-hearted at kitchen table, a woman with a gun in search of prey, a nightmare and a dream having it out in a no-holds-barred street fight, a boy and his father fish at a stream without fish, three evil incarnate men felled mercilessly by their own deeds. A young boy shitting in an outhouse in winter, hooked on the aroma of noodles and gravy. The woman who covered her skin with animal fat. First communion boy in photograph wears double-breasted white suit. A motorcycle crashed into a tree leaves its rider with one leg shorter than the other. A woman on a snowmobile beheaded by an ill-placed wire after a poetry reading. A naked woman sits across from him at the breakfast table, talks to her ex-husband on the phone. The selective service system gobbles young men and spits them into trash dumpsters. Nuns crack knuckles. Priests crack skulls at random for sport in the name of the all-merciful Lord. Oil leaks from an oil pan on a 1965 driveway. A car run off a snowy highway by a runaway semi. He sits atop her, rubs snow in her face, enjoys the unexpected fireworks in his pants. Who says their love was never consummated? The chickadee lady with fire red hair and too much makeup from the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City, 1937. An old drunk found dead in a rooming house, buried in an unmarked grave. A chunk of flesh torn from a knee on a trolley track. A 45 RPM record player under a Christmas tree. A girl tells a boy to meet her at a hamburger joint on the boardwalk at the shore in summer. A 55 Chevy bought by a smart-ass kid with scholarship money. A short-order cook chases the boss out of a restaurant with a 10-inch knife. A 3-ring binder with nothing in it. A girl has the Virgin Mary appear at the foot of her bed. Another woman sees her departed father speak to her on television. An egotistical boy slips on a rock, falls to his death from broken ribs that puncture his lungs. Back in the mid-1960s, a kid gets a Honda 50 cycle, hits a pothole, breaks his neck. A bare-knuckle fight on a railroad bridge. One kid runs home, afraid he might have broke the other kid's back. This one guy was so busted up inside, he couldn't have forgotten how to express any other outward emotion. The other guy said nothing ever phases him, and there are dreams crushed under the heel of unyielding facts. As a matter of fact, pay no mind to any of it. It's all a colossal waste of time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know what that reminded me of? It was Shakespeare like said much ado about nothing, and like it's a story told by an idiot to I can't remember the exact quote, but it was like all this drama is like doesn't mean anything. Right.
Yeah, well, I can relate to the story being told by an idiot.
Are you saying it was read by an idiot or written by an idiot?
Written by an idiot.
Maybe both.
Yeah, because I read it too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, as my grandmother used to say, fuck that shit.
Hmm.
I have 2 poems here, and then that'll do it, unless anybody has anything else. Okay. Well, that wasn't it. Okay. This is called I'd Rather the Rats. A raggedy woman danced on a fire escape, tried to shake off the rats crawling up her legs. A cleric, 1/2 story below, whispered to her, "Only penance can save you," as he looked up her dress. "I'll help you do your penance." She said she'd rather stick with the rats. Well, this is good. Okay, this is the last poem of the evening. It's called On a Mission. Going on a mission from dog on Tuesday. Flush out the dirty mongrels from their holier-than-thou, snot-filled lairs. Hand them their eviction papers and watch them grovel for mercy, which will not be forthcoming. And reading.
Hey Al, I found the quote. It was from Macbeth, and it's life is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Yeah, that's me. How did that bastard know?
He was ahead of his time, man.
Mhm.
He was ahead of my time.
Al Macbeth.
That's a good find, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd say
Speaking for me, that was a great session.
Yay.
I thought,
Mhm.
I thought it was a great session. You all did so well. Very enjoyable.
Too.
and you guys promised to tell all the people who didn't get in.
Sure.
Let me guess what you want us to say to those people. Fuck you.
That's it.
Well,
That's it.
That's
Good night.
I'll see you at lunch, Al. I'll try to get one organized.
okay.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.